This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
So the Pistons decided to make a couple of trades within hours of us getting, being done with our recording last
Yeah, that was fun.
Or a trade, a couple of trades. I don't.
It was a trade for a couple.
Trade for a couple players. There we go. So obviously that is something that we
record because it basically threw away everything that we said about.
Right. It kind of did, especially as it pertained to free agency and everything. But
and then the next day, Miles Bridges gets those assault. Gets arrested for assault. Then. Yeah, the 24 hours after we recorded, we're basically nullifying everything we talked about.
Pretty much. Honestly, yes. Yes, there were some things that still applied and could still be talked about, but for the bulk of what we had discussed was kind of destroyed within hours of us recording last week. But, I guess that's what happens when you do a podcast. You got to record a couple days before your drop date. It is what it is. But obviously, guys, this is the Fan Report. I'm Nick, and with me is Andrew, as always.
What's up, guys?
Follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport is where you can find us. We are brought to you by the Detroit Sports Podcast. Episode number 164?
64. The N64.
Yes.
Best system of all time?
It's up there.
Obviously not performance-wise. But just
it's up there. I would have to say that the really solid challenger to that would be a PlayStation 2. And then I would have to say probably an Xbox 360 is right there with it, too.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Both those systems had longevity, had everything you could ever want out of the games. They both were pretty damn sound. I would say the 360 is in kind of its own category from the other two because it's more of a next gen console, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's where the newer generation of consoles where actual hard drives were put into them and didn't have to use memory cards anymore. But
yeah, I was a Sony loyalist and I went the PS3 route in that generation, but I will acknowledge that the Xbox 360 was the superior console.
360 was definitely better. Definitely better than the PS3.
Sony took the crown back with PS4, I think.
I'll agree with you. I mean, that one's up for debate, but I agree with you. I went back to Sony with PS4 as well. So, but obviously, this is not a video game podcast, as much as we would love to talk about video games.
Wait, we're not going to talk about video games this whole podcast? I thought that was the plan.
You know what? There is a video game conversation we can have. It was mentioned today that Michael Jordan's going to be gracing the cover of NBA 2K23 in some way, shape, or form, at least in a couple of different ways. Yeah, I think there's going to be a special edition. Yes.
The Hall of Fame edition, I think might be Jordan or something like that.
Yes. With that being said, though, the back-to-back MVP is not going to be on the cover yet again. How do you feel about that?
I've been feeling like Jokic doesn't, even though he is a back-to-back MVP, just in terms of by fans, media, just the general basketball culture, does not get the respect that a two-time MVP should really get.
He doesn't get the respect he deserves, there's no question about it. Obviously, he gets a lot of love from our show, and especially for me, because he's one of my favorite players in the league, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. He just doesn't get the respect he deserves from the media, from most fan bases, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe because he's not a flashy, high-flying player. He's a kind of a do-it-all guy that doesn't really do anything extravagant outside of pass the ball. He's got some crazy-ass passes, but I don't know. He's just not a flashy guy. So, but
yeah, not at all.
Obviously,
they were bringing back the Jordan challenges.
Yeah,
that they had in 2K11.
Yeah, obviously, as we were talking last week, and as we said to kind of open the show this week, the Pistons free agency outlook is going to be one that they could go a couple of directions, and we talked about how we gave three scenarios last week of what they could do and what our thought process was behind it, and they took the scenario that neither one of us said we really wanted. They took the route of taking on the contracts in order to essentially punt the offseason to next year and be ready then. And kind of build with smaller deals and mix with the contracts you traded for to build up some assets there. And that's the route they chose. Now, I will say that at least some of the pieces they brought in are pieces that will contribute to this roster right here, right now. Mm-hmm. But looking at things, Andrew, and looking at this team as it is constructed right here, right now, is this team put together good enough to meet expectations that you and I have set for this team for this year? Is this team good enough to do that? And that's kind of a big question and something that I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, because we didn't make a splash in free agency that my expectations need to change. My expectations are going to remain the same because my expectations are not on the young talent on this team as much as they are on Troy Weaver.
Well, yeah, the expectations that we set were very much with the idea in mind that the Pistons would make a splash. For me, that splash, like I said last week, would have been DeAndre Ayton. He was the only guy that you could convince me would be worth max money. But as comprised now, they thought Troy Weaver sent a very clear message last Tuesday with the Knicks trade saying we are sticking with the original plan that was kind of reported out like a year or so ago, where we're targeting 2023 free agency to really make a big splash and turn the corner. But yeah, the team as comprised now, I don't think is going to be all that good. I mean, the lack of 3-point shooting alone, Alec Burks will get you some in the starting lineup along with Saddiq Bey. You'll get what you get out of Cade Cunningham, but then from there, there's no three. You have a few shooters in the starting lineup, and then you had no shooting after that. Are we going to Kelly Olynyk? Maybe, sure.
The aforementioned trade that you talk about with the Knicks,
Isaiah
obviously
Livers, maybe?
No, obviously is bringing in Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel to essentially shore up this team and take on the $19 million in cap space from the Knicks on. They're
2 second-round picks, I think like $6 million in cash.
Yeah, 2 second-round picks and a few mil in cap space as well, or a few mil in cash, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To essentially just take the money off the books so that the Knicks could go get Jalen Brunson, which I do believe they have successfully done, provided the Mavericks do not match the offer sheet put in place.
They are about to get in trouble for tampering.
Yes, I'm sure they are.
The Mavs have sent a few complaints to the NBA, and the NBA is now investigating the Knicks for tampering with Jalen Brunson.
Right. And whatever. Honestly, as long as it ain't my team.
You ever seen a team want a non-all-star that badly?
I seem to remember the Pistons going all out for Josh Smith, so yes, I do. And I also seem to remember teams paying.
We didn't move all these pieces around.
I do seem to remember a team paying Timofey Mozgov like $90 million. So yeah, I do remember teams going astronomically all out for guys who don't deserve it. Didn't the Pistons give Andre Drummond a max at one point too?
Yeah, it's not about the max though. It's about all the mountains they had to move just to make it work for him to get there, and then tamper on top of that.
I don't think moving a bunch of second-round picks is that much. Now, the draft day trade, sure, we can talk about that. But regardless, trading for Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks, that was kind of the move that, I don't want to say finalized the free agent or the offseason for the Pistons, but it gave you a very clear image of what this team is going to look like. Mm-hmm. And because of the fact that there really isn't a ton of cap space left this offseason, there's not much they can do. There's no more going after DeAndre Ayton. Obviously, there's no more going after Miles Bridges because he's got a felony assault charge, domestic violence charge on his plate right now. So there's no Miles Bridges there. There's not a lot. We're obviously not going after Jalen Brunson after we gave the Knicks all the firepower they needed. We're not going after Anthony Simons. I don't see that as a possibility any longer.
Well, they extended him.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, it could be a sign-in trade that's not.
Could be, yeah.
There's just not a lot of avenues that the Pistons can go, barring something insane like trading a Saddiq Bey or a Cade Cunningham or the rights to Ivy or something along those lines. And those are scenarios that are just so outworldly that they're just not there's no reason to even talk about them.
Yeah.
Now the contracts that the Pistons took on for Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel.
Weren't they about $9 million a piece?
Burks is like 12 mil a piece. Is like 12 mil.
So 12 and 7 and a half, something like that.
I want to say yes. Pulling it up right now. He's got a $10 million contract this year with a $10.5 million club option for next year. His age 31 and 32 seasons. And then Nerlens Noel was a little bit south of that. I want to say he was about 8 or 9 mil or something like that.
Yeah, that rounded out. But I think
I think he's on a 1-1 also.
Yeah, which is I think is the key point here is the 1-1 part of it.
The Pistons can get rid of them after this offseason, so it doesn't really hurt them other than the fact that they do end up missing out on a guy like DeAndre Ayton, which I don't know if we had said it last week or not, but yes, I know the presence of Jalen Duren is something that to pay attention to and is obviously going to be a guy that is part of the future of this team. He's 18 years old. He's not ready to play in the league. He's most likely going to be starting his career in the G League. And that's where I think he should be. You look at the roster as constructed. Kelly Olynyk is still on this roster. Nerlens Noel is still on this roster. You also have Isaiah Stewart. There's not a lot of depth chart room for a guy like Jalen Duren on the current roster. So with that being said, like there's an obvious place of where he's going to go, and that's the G League at that point. Now, things could change if in the offseason with Summer League, and if they say, oh, maybe he's a little bit more ready, maybe you see guys like Noel or Olynyk on the move going somewhere else. Who knows? But
and Duren, main fact, it is looking like he will play at some point because he did touch down today in Vegas with the team. So,
and I do think he's a guy that, and looking at the Summer League roster, I know the reasons behind like why Cade and Bay are still on the Summer League roster, and it has to do with the fact that that's the only way that they were allowed by league rules to practice with the young guys.
Yep.
I get that. I hope to God those guys don't play a damn minute. I hate having guys that are cemented in their spots on a team. We know what they are, playing in useless basketball games. I hate it. It's just risk of injury, risk of
by the time this drops, we'll find out.
Right, exactly.
Actually, wait, no. By the time, the first game is Thursday at midnight. So
okay, so wait, is Thursday at midnight?
Like Thursday night midnight.
So
yeah.
by the time this drops, we still won't know.
You staying up till midnight to watch a Summer League game, Nicholas?
No, I will not watch a single Summer League game. Probably, I might see a couple of highlights and see what's up. But I'm not a person who really takes like I've said every single year we've done this podcast. I do not put stock in Summer League. I think it is good for the development of guys who are fringe roster guys who are developing their craft, developing a new piece to their repertoire, a la an Isaiah Stewart. I'm happy with him going and continuing his Summer League quest to continue developing that outside shot and his physicality and his defensive instincts. I'm happy with Jalen Duren going. I'm happy with guys like Saban Lee, Killian Hayes. Like that I'm fine with. It's the Cades, the Ivies, the Bays. Like, they don't need to be there outside of practice. I get why they're there for practice, but that's it.
You know, I'm the same way in the sense that I don't put any stock in Summer League. I learned that from the Stanley Johnson year. But
yeah. And haven't we seen Killian Hayes dominate Summer League and struggle?
I don't think he ever dominated because he didn't do Summer League the year.
That's
his rookie year, and then last year he did, but I don't think he was dominating.
You're right.
Anything.
I'm thinking he probably didn't he dominate the G League though when he went down?
I don't think he ever went on the G League either, did he?
Then who the hell was it that
Saban Lee dominated the G League.
That's right.
But yeah, I always have fun with it. I enjoy watching just for the fun of it, like watching the new toys. You know.
Are you really watching something like it's
like for example, like
it's not worth. Let me put it this way: it ain't worth my time.
Like last year, the matchup against Houston, Cade versus Jalen. They didn't put any stock into how each player performed or who won that game, but it was just super fun to watch them go head to head.
Ain't worth my time. I'll wait for the regular season to watch them actually try and actually play. It ain't worth my time. I would rather go and mow the lawn.
You only got one game of that because the second one, Jalen sat out. So
here's how little I care about Summer League. I'd rather go and clean the bathroom than watch a Summer League basketball.
Good Lord. All right.
And why do you ask? Because I know I got to do it anyway, so I'd rather just get it done. So if there was something in my day that I felt like I could cut out, it'd be the Summer League game.
That's like watching basketball.
It ain't basketball in my mind. It's a bad product.
It's definitely basketball.
It's like watching pickup games. I don't do that either. It ain't basketball. Basketball is what you see in the regular season, my friend. In the playoffs. That's basketball.
Hey, Hey, just because it's lower talent level, they're still competing their ass.
It ain't just lower talent level. It's lower compete levels. It's lower.
It's not lower
levels.
compete level.
Yes, it is though. Like because most of these guys that are the names that people are watching for aren't trying. They're just there to work on something. That's not them trying. Because if you need to work on it, you're not likely doing it in a regular season game. So it's not what you're doing.
But the majority of guys playing there are guys literally playing for their livelihoods,
and they're garbage most of them. So why do I care?
Like outside the handful of rookies, it's guys playing for their livelihoods.
And they're garbage. So I don't care. I don't need to go see Braxton Key play basketball. I was tortured enough by being forced to watch him last year when the team had 12 guys out with COVID. I don't care to see.
You don't want to watch the Boeheims?
No. I don't care. Why do we have two of them?
Oh man!
And are they related? I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, they're brothers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jim Boeheim's got to have some kind of relationship with Troy Weaver. He's like, please, dude, just
give him a chance.
Put my kids on your team.
Put them in the G League. But are you at all disappointed with the way this offseason's gone?
No, because I said last week it was DeAndre was my top choice, and then I said I'd rather punt until 2023 with team friendly contracts than throw big money at anybody else, because I didn't feel like anyone else was really going to be worth a max contract.
I'm tired of punting, and one, I'm tired of punting. Two, I'm tired of.
Is it really punting if it was technically their initial target year, anyways?
Yeah, because the team, I would say that they kind of advanced up their timeline with the way that Sadiq Bey progressed, with the way that they got Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, with the way Cade looked last year. Your timeline moves up at that point. I know you targeted that 2023 offseason 3 years ago, but that's not relevant anymore in my mind. It's just not. And frankly, how the hell do we know we're going to be able to go get any of these free agents that are worth a damn next year?
We don't. That's the part that scares me.
Because again, what the hell has the city of Detroit, in terms of the Pistons, done in free agency in your or my lifetime? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We have never gotten the guy that we wanted in free agency, no matter how much money we had in cap space. Why? Because people don't come here to play. They just don't. The way that the Pistons championship team have won in our lifetime is through trades and smart team basketball and effective drafting.
You did get a couple expiring deals. Those could be trade chips.
Great.
Love it. I don't know how much you'll get for them, but
you're not getting much for a $9 million
they're not giant
expiring
deals,
deal.
but
you're not getting much for a $10 million expiring deal. Like that's a fact.
But for 19 mil, you trade them both.
I'll be honest with you. Any GM that trades a first round pick for those two guys, you just fire him already. You're not getting a first round pick for those guys. I would be shocked. And you're not getting a good player for those either. I am very nervous because I can just see it now where the Pistons have all the fan base has all these hopes for the 2023 offseason, and we end up with the fifth best guy. And what do we get out of it? A 5 seed. And what do we go from there? Nowhere. Because that, in my mind, with all that Troy Weaver's has done and been given with this team and this organization, that's a failure. If you're not competing for titles with the roster you have that you are constructing, where you have how many first round picks in the top 10 in the lottery, that's a failure. And frankly, I'm going to sit here right now and say, I don't believe the Pistons will get the prize free agents next year. I don't. Because why would I believe that they would? Why would I? We never have. Players don't come here, don't get excited to come here. They just don't. Yeah, you have a little bit of an attraction playing alongside Cade Cunningham. But I don't think it's big enough, and especially with the big free agents where they don't want to play second fiddle to anybody, who are you going to get? Because the LAs are still going to be calling. The New Yorks are still going to be calling. The Phillies, the Bostons, the Miamis. How are you going to compete with that? You can't.
Well, let me start off by saying I don't think you're getting LeBron. But names I do think that the Pistons could technically target in 2023 are guys like Chris Middleton, even though I don't personally love the idea throwing max money at a guy who will be 32 to start the year after that. I don't personally love that idea.
If the Pistons go and get Chris Middleton, that's the exact type of, and pay him a max deal, that's the exact type of move I'm talking about, where that won't do shit for us. We'll end up with a 4th or 5th seed. Sorry.
Andrew Wiggins, not sure how much money he'll command, but that at least get you the dynamic scoring that you still...
He ain't going to want to come here. He's tasted California basketball. Hell no is he coming here.
Unless the Warriors can't pay him.
Okay. New York, Miami, he's been in a Midwest basketball town and hated his life. He ain't coming to another one. Scratch him off the list.
I mean, I can go down the list of like
I'll have a reason why each one of those guys won't sign. That's my point.
Yeah.
Like, Detroit has never been a free agent destination, and that's just a fact. I would love to sit here and tell you that I have all this hope that we're going to spend this money wisely and go and get the whoever's of the world that are extremely good free agents. Like, yeah, Wiggins would be great. That'd be awesome. And honestly, looking at this, though, I'm seeing a lot of, like, looking at this list of free agents for next offseason. Yeah, it's deep. It's not, there's not much up top, though. Like, you've got a lot of
that's what it is.
Third options.
It's a bigger pool.
Team.
Yeah.
So you're still missing the number 2 guy on your team. D'Angelo Russell's not that. I don't think Wiggins can be that. Chris Middleton's not that. You need a Giannis to make Chris Middleton that. You don't have that. Bojan Bogdanovic, he's not that. That's another number 3
He's
guy.
too old to be that.
Karis LeVert, no.
I like Gary Trent a lot.
Gary Trent's not a number 2 guy. That's a number 3
I like
guy.
him a lot in terms of a guy to target.
Sure, fine, wonderful. How good is he actually going to make you, though? Like, none of these names up here are attractive enough to get me that excited. Like, yes, it's a really deep free agency. There's a lot of options there, but none of them are that. Like, there's no Devin Booker. There's no Donovan Mitchell. There's no big time free agent that you put alongside Cade and say, you two, this is your team. And we put all this plethora of pieces around you, go win a title. Gary Trent Jr. is not making you an NBA championship contender. Sorry, that was proven. Andrew Wiggins, I don't think he's doing it either. What made that team a championship contender? Healthy Clay, Steph Curry, and Draymond. Wiggins helped, but he didn't make them a contender. They already were. That's why I look at like this whole thing with the free agency and this offseason and say, like, did we miss out on an opportunity here? And I have no idea if DeAndre Ayton would have come here. But I would have rather at least taken the shot.
No one outside that front office does, really.
Right. And I would have at least taken a shot at DeAndre Ayton instead of just kicking us out of the race from the beginning. And that's what they did. Take a shot at the guy. If you get him, awesome. Your team's set. If you don't get him, well, we're still in the same place we're in now. Because there's still going to be a New York Knicks of the world that's going to want to trade you a couple bad contracts or expiring deals so that they can free up cap space to go get somebody. I actually have a feeling that if the Knicks didn't get that deal done that day, they probably could have done it 3 days later. You'd probably have known about DeAndre Ayton by then. Like, it's just...
This is something I'm thinking about. What if Troy Weaver's plan never was and still isn't for 2023 to sign one just giant max guy? What if it's to sign a couple really good guys? And the reason I say that is because when you think about what we have on this team in terms of young players that we're going to want to retain, I mean, you got Cade who's going to get the max. Sadiq's probably going to get pretty close to the max. I can see mid-20s for Sadiq. Down the road, we don't know. We obviously have no idea, but Jay and Ivy you're hoping will be worth the max or close to it. Dern, we have no idea. Stewart.
Well, first off, the Pistons will have so much cap space. I think they won't even be at the salary floor. They have to give somebody a max at that point. Like they are basically required to.
Yeah, Cade's your max guy. One.
Yes. I think Bay will probably command somewhere in the realm of 25. It's just...
So between
So you're
Cade,
saying you think that...
a second max and then extending Bay, how much room does it leave on that roster?
Probably still a max and a half. Like, they'll still have a ton of cap space. Like, can you sit right here, right now, and tell me that the roster of Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, and Jaden Ivey, plus a bunch of names, is good enough to compete for an NBA championship.
No, because one, I don't know what Jaden Ivey will be.
Two, I think Sadiq Bey's too wildly inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that may just be who Bey is. He's, 24 years old now? Like, he's not exactly a 21-year-old kid in the league anymore.
Sadiq Bey is ideally your number 3 option.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So who's your number 2? Is it Ivy? We hope. Mm-hmm. But is that guy good enough to be a number 2? We don't know. Mm-hmm. And, that's why, again, you got to have a contingency plan here. You got to have a backup.
Yeah. And
draft picks don't hit every day.
And if you did sign someone to a max deal, let's say this year, that timeline would line up to when it's time to extend Ivy, that contract can become a little more movable. And then you clear the way to if you think Ivy's good enough to command that.
It just made more sense to go and do it now. Mm-hmm. And frankly, my expectations, I'm standing hard pat on my expectations for this team this season. They must be a 35-win team this year in my mind, or it's strike one for Troy Weaver. And if they don't make the playoffs next year, that's probably worth 2 strikes. You're out.
This doesn't look like a 35-win team to me.
No, it doesn't. But I'm standing pat on my expectations for this team at this point in the timeline. Why? Because I compare it to the other organizations at this point in the timeline. Other organizations did it. Hell, they would have, if the Pistons only won 35 games this year, the other teams still would have beat us out in recent history. Because those teams made the playoffs in year 3 of a rebuild.
Was it Minnesota that did that?
There was 3 teams. I gave you 3. Minnesota was one of them, yes.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm on the side of, again, it was, in terms of a max contract, it was either A or bust for me in terms of a max contract. And then if you weren't doing the max contract, it was like I'd said leading into the offseason when we were still talking about 2023, which is we need to spend all this money. Maybe team-friendly deals are the way to go.
Let me ask you this. And this is kind of something that's really glaring out to me. Mm-hmm. Of the top free agents next year, who would you rather have than DeAndre Ayton?
Oh, DeAndre Ayton is, unless you're getting LeBron James on this team, it's.
And frankly, LeBron at the age of 100, no thank you. I don't need that headache here. And by then, he probably won't be as effective either. Ayton's 23.
I like the idea of Kristaps, but
he isn't even close to DeAndre Ayton is right here, right now. He could have been, but he couldn't stay healthy. Chris Middleton, maybe.
If I thought there was
Wiggins,
any chance,
maybe.
If I thought there was any chance in hell that Minnesota didn't pick up Anthony Edwards' option, maybe.
Yeah, that ain't happening. My point is, of the names on this list of who are the big free agents next year, nobody's better than Ayton. Nobody is more desirable than a 23-year-old center that is only getting better.
Mm-hmm. No, you're not wrong.
Why the hell wouldn't we just do this now and move this damn timeline up? Mm-hmm. Sure, yes, we got to give Ivy some time to grow, but strike while the iron is hot here.
I really do think it's. Obviously, can't read Troy Weaver's mind, but I'm thinking he's either thinking one, maybe his idea is not to get a max player, or 2, maybe he's not that. Maybe he doesn't see that in a max player in Ayton. I mean, it's got to be. It's one of those two things.
And I can understand the argument of not seeing a max player in Ayton. However, it's Detroit. We overpay here because we have to.
Yeah.
So you don't have that option, Troy Weaver. I don't know how much you know about the history of Detroit basketball. We have to overpay to get guys here. Mm-hmm. So therefore, guys who like Ayton, you might not think are worth a max deal. You got to pay them that just to get them here. Mm-hmm. And frankly, if it leads to title contention, what the hell does it matter?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is maybe if it's on at least a title contention, I think you throw the max at him. But what I'm trying to say is he doesn't see the max player in Ayton as in he doesn't think Ayton is that guy. In term, he doesn't. Okay,
but looking at the 2023 offseason, who the hell is? Yeah. Because we've talked ad nauseum about how excited we are about this 2023 free agent class. Yeah, it's a hell of a lot deeper, but it's not the names in this list are not better than DeAndre Ayton. Not the value he brings mixed with the fact that he's only 23. None of them. You would have 5 really good years of DeAndre Ayton versus if you went after LeBron, which ain't going to happen. You got what? 1, maybe 2. Russell Westbrook, 0. Chris Middleton, 2, maybe 3 at most. Kyrie, 0. Probably, because who knows what the hell's wrong with him? Porzingis? God only knows because he's never healthy.
I'm good on Kyrie.
Love, 0. Wiggins, 3, maybe 4. What are you getting out of these guys in their age that makes them more worth going after than DeAndre Ayton? And don't get me wrong, I don't think Troy Weaver lost the trades by any means. I think he did a masterful job. It's
hard to lose a trade when you don't send anything back.
Exactly. I just wish he wouldn't have taken himself out of the race before it even began. Take a shot.
That's why I wish I could been a fly on the wall for those conversations going on, centered on that trade, centered on DeAndre Ayton. Like, there's got to be guys who, like, I don't think Troy Weaver would target 2023 if he didn't have specific guys he was looking at to bring onto this roster.
And that's fine.
But I'm not trying to defend it.
Specific guys, but I'm going to sit here, right now, and say
this is the thing I want to know.
None of them are that exciting.
I wish I could know what the plan was.
Like, if he comes out next year and he brings in a mixture of Gary Trent Jr. and Victor Oladipo, I'm going to sit here and say, this is what we waited for? And Gary Trent Jr. doesn't even make sense when you have Jaden Ivey. So what the hell are you doing?
Oh, he'd be your 6th man.
Yeah, you paid damn near max money for a 6th man. Congratulations.
Are we throwing a max at Gary Trent?
Sorry, $20-some-odd million for your 6th man. Congratulations. That's what we waited for. Yeah, this team will forever be mediocre at that point. Forever. Because, frankly, you point out Gary Trent, that is an option that the Pistons could look at. But that's what we waited for? A 6th man? Like, yeah, they're important. But, dude, we continued to punt this thing down another year and targeted this free agent class to go get a 6th man? Really? I feel like Allen Iverson. We talk about practice. Like, we're talking about a 6th man? Come on. Like, yeah, I got a problem with that.
But yeah, I don't know what the game plan is, but like I said, it had to be one of those two things going on because.
And I don't disagree. And you're probably right. And, I hope to God we can go get the prize guy next offseason and the guy we want.
Like, you're right. There is no actual prized guy.
No, there's not.
It's just you can get a couple. So what the hell
are we spending $69 million freaking dollars on?
You can get a couple of starter quality players. Is basically, I guess, what the idea is.
On a starting lineup that is starting to get awfully crowded with a bunch of guys that are number 3 options. Mm-hmm. And you're going to add more number 3 options to that? Mm-hmm. Newsflash, that doesn't win championships. Teams have tried it, doesn't work. I don't know, man. Like, I just...
So basically you're saying we're staking this thing on Jaden Ivey being number 2 option.
Yeah, that's pretty much what Troy Weaver's saying. That we are going to ride and die on Jaden Ivey being a really, really, really good basketball player.
That's the hope.
Yeah, that's a lot of hope. That man's got a lot of question marks, and I love the player, and I think he's got that potential, but there are a lot of question marks there. Like, I don't dislike the trades. I just wish we would have taken a shot at probably what should be the most highly coveted free agent over the next 2 off seasons. This one included, so this one and next one.
Did he actually end up?
I don't think he's done anything yet. He's not gone anywhere. As of right now, they're trying to do a sign and trade with the Nets with DeAndre Ayton and Michael Bridges to bring in KD, and that's apparently not enough for KD. So, like I said, my expectations is still 33 to 35 wins. That is not going to change. Mm-hmm. Because if they don't hit it this year, then I'm going to start seriously questioning the direction that Troy Weaver has with this team. Like, what are you building here? I don't want us to end up like the Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley years where we looked pretty and cute, but we were an 8 seed. I don't want that.
You don't think Kevin Knox could be the number 2 option on this team?
I don't think Kevin Knox is going to be making the roster.
I see, like, I get the player archetype and targeting that, but...
Sure, but he sucks.
I don't get the the player in particular.
Andrew, you can say it. We're not, Kevin Knox doesn't listen to our podcast. He sucks. Let's be real.
You're literally signing a guy who's gotten worse every year he's been in the league.
He sucks. He is a bad basketball player.
His best season was his rookie season.
I like Troy Weaver a lot. I do, and I think he's a really smart basketball mind. But man, oh man, he better have a plan here. Mm-hmm. I hope the same God it doesn't.
Trade. Like, he better have a plan.
And he did. And he did. And it was a great plan. Best plan of all plans.
I couldn't have thought up that plan.
No.
I would have been playing 2K, and I probably still could have executed that plan.
That's probably because the 2K Knicks GM would have declined that trade.
Yeah, exactly. But, hey. I also don't think the trade he made with the Knicks for Burks and Noah would have gone through in 2K either.
Yeah, I give you nothing. You give me something.
2 expiring deals, 2 picks, and money.
Man, I look at this free agent class of next year, and I'm just trying to figure out what it is that he wants. He's got so much money. What does he want here?
We're projected to have, I believe, 35 mil?
69.
Oh, 69.
69 mil. I can't pull up the article because the damn Detroit Free Press has a paywall. $69 million under the top. Under the cap.
Jesus. But that's before. Aren't we due to when next offseason be when we're due to re-sign Sadiq or no?
No, one more.
Okay.
Right? Unless you're signing him early, which
it's entirely possible.
Yeah, I would. Let's see. So he's got a club option next year. So you'd be re-signing him the year after with a qualifying offer, unless you re-signed him early, which I would do. I would absolutely do. You're going to be taking more money. I would imagine you'd probably end up somewhere in the realm of about $40 million in cap space when it's all said and done, after you re-sign all your guys. I would imagine if they re-sign Killian, it's at like a cookie in a bag of chips. Depending on what he does this year. Sadiq probably somewhere in the realm of 15 to 20 mil is my guess, unless he takes a huge step forward. Cade, you can start looking at his opportunities to re-sign. Obviously, he'd get the max. Isaiah Stewart, probably somewhere in the realm of 8 to 10 mil. Like, I don't see him getting a big deal.
Yep.
Saban Lee, you probably will let walk or sign him to a min. Isaiah Livers, you probably will let walk or sign him to a min. Kelly Olynyk, he's probably traded by then. Like, you don't have a lot on your contract at that point. Or on your books. You will be... So this says 20 mil, but you got a floor, so... I'm trying to figure out the exact number here. I don't know. This whole thing is freaking confusing. But you're going to have a lot of money in cap space. Enough for a max contract or, a little bit less. But
yeah, because you basically took all the money you had in cap space this year and just kind of pushed it to next year.
Which is fine. I really hope he has a plan that doesn't just involve hoping Jaden Ivey hits.
Yeah, because remember, there is also the idea that, it's not just free agency that you can do with cap space. And with all the teams competing, you might have teams looking to move some serious assets in order to sign a guy they want.
And don't get me wrong, Troy Weaver's a madman in the trade market. I firmly believe he could go and get a guy that puts you over the top. Like, let's say the Suns start falling apart and Devin Booker wants out. All right. I think Troy Weaver can get a deal done for him. Or, insert other names here. I absolutely think Troy Weaver's got the ability to go and get a trade done to take on a huge contract from a superstar.
Watch Troy Weaver have some intel, like, I know so-and-so is going to demand out this season.
I had some intel on a guy who wanted out this season. DeAndre Ayton.
Jeez.
No, but I think Troy Weaver's smart enough to have a plan A, a plan B, and probably even a plan C. His plan A probably is Jaden Ivey to be the number 2 guy in this team. His plan B Who knows? And
Yeah.
maybe he goes plan A and plan B. And if he does, watch out.
Yeah.
I hope he does because I just want to see this damn team competing again. But my timeline for this team does not change because they chose to punt this offseason. It does not change. My expectations are what they are for players, coach, GM, roster, team, and that's going to maintain that way. I'm tired of losing. I want to win.
You know, the other thing I was wondering about the other day, if the Pistons had signed, well, actually, no, because it would have been before free agency, but just in theory, do teams write in like clauses on their contracts, like if a player signs and then the next day like gets arrested for domestic violence?
I have a theory that Bridges probably was the Pistons' target, but they heard about the domestic violence situation and that shied him away.
Very well could be.
Because the domestic violence situation happened a few days prior from his arrest. He turned himself in.
Yep.
I have a feeling that the Pistons had heard about the situation and went a different route.
Because they were connected to both Aiden and Bridges. So
I think that was their plan A.
what happened with
and
Aiden? I don't know. I don't know what happened there.
Maybe he didn't like Aiden to begin with, and like you said,
that's
maybe
why I wanted to be a fly on the wall for that conversation.
Right.
Like, I'm very
But
curious.
or maybe they missed out on Aiden because they were talking to Bridges. I don't know, but
nothing's happened with Aiden yet, so they didn't.
he may have preferred destinations, though. Is my point.
Yeah.
Because of conversations he's
I see what you're
had.
saying.
Yeah.
He was offended that
Not just offended, it's just you missed the train. Like it's now a 3-team race. Too late. So sad. But I have a feeling, I'm not saying it's rooted in any type of
this is not
realism.
you reporting it or anything.
Yeah, it's just I have a feeling the Pistons knew about the domestic violence situation a couple days before he was arrested, or a day before he's arrested, and that's why you saw the Knicks trade go down.
That would have been, I don't want to say funny in this situation, but that would have been ironic. Not even ironic is even the right word to use. But if the Charlotte Hornets end up moving both their first round picks to get Gordon Hayward off the books, to re-sign Miles Bridges, and then
that happens.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Maybe that's why they never moved Gordon Hayward at the end of the day. Maybe they knew about it too. And like, oh, well, we don't need to do that anymore.
When do we see Miles Bridges on a basketball floor again? Does he even deserve to come back? Because what he did was pretty awful.
I mean, the NBA doesn't quite have the reputation of the NFL in that regard.
No, they don't.
But would I rule out? I don't think he should. No, but would I rule out him ever seeing the floor again? I would say if we don't see him in sometime in the next 3 years, then you're not going to see him. Period.
I'll agree with you there. I think he's done for this year, and he'll start getting maybe some looks next year. But whenever a guy takes a whole year off or 2 years off, like it's tough for them to ever make a legitimate comeback in this league. So, but grade the offseason so far. It's tough to give a full grade because I know it's not done yet. But the Pistons are for the most part kind of done. Like there's not a lot of room they have left to go with. They are, for the most part, done.
Are we just talking about like free agency, or are we talking about the draft too?
No, let's do the whole draft. Let's do the whole offseason. Because I think got to take the good with the bad, and I don't even know if you can really call the free agent aspect of it a bad. It's just not what we had hoped.
I'm at a B+.
I think the draft was an A.
I was at an A+, the draft. I just took it down a letter grade.
Yeah, I'll join you on that. I'm in between a B to a B+. Like I'm a low B+. Not doing a damn thing in free agency that's worth anything kind of really leaves a sour taste in my mouth. But
the reason I didn't take it lower is because you didn't do anything, but you also didn't do something to really fuck it up in the process.
You didn't do anything bad.
Yeah,
like you didn't pull a Joe D and go sign Ben Gordon, Charlie Villanueva for $1 billion. Like
this wasn't like the Knicks doing nothing in the draft and trading all the draft picks for nothing. There's a different situation.
How do you feel? Okay, so the Pistons re-signed Marvin Bagley. How do you feel about that contract? Because there's a lot of mixed reactions to that deal, and I have my own opinion on it, but I want to hear yours.
So, I liked what we got from Marvin Bagley.
18-game sample size.
In the 16 games, or 18 games.
18 games.
Yeah, I enjoyed what we got from him, and I think he was on the mid-level exception that he was playing on
something
at the time?
like that. I can try to look it up.
But anyway, re-signing him, I believe, was necessary just because of the fact that you need bodies down low. And
well, I'm not saying it was stupid to re-sign him.
Oh no, I'm not done. That's all. You need bodies down low because, again, I do want to get 200 minutes, but I don't think he's going to be ready to get at 18 years old to play big minutes in the NBA. And Marvin Bagley can at least help you in that respect. But the sticker shock of the contract, which I believe was 3 years, 36 mil?
37
mil. Troy Weaver keeps the streak alive of not signing anyone to more than a 3-year deal. So there's that. But two,
he hasn't had a player worth signing to more than a 3-year deal. Let's preface that.
But two, it begs the question of, is Marvin Bagley actually worth $12 million? Did you see enough on this, what would you say, 16 game?
18.
On a small sample size.
Very small.
Of Pistons games to make you believe he was worth that. I'm going to go with, for this team, yes. But it's going to start looking like a bad contract next year. Because once he's going to get, I think, a lot of minutes this year. You didn't bring in Aiden. You're not going to play Jared a ton. You're paying a guy $12 million a year.
There's a really solid chance he starts.
Yeah. That's going to, if he doesn't start, he's at least going to get starter level minutes.
Right.
But after that, once you have 2 years left on his deal, and I don't think he'd be getting as much minutes next year, that's where I think the contract will start looking a little more sour. Now, still $12 million is not an immovable. It's in the grand scheme of contracts in the NBA, it's not a giant contract.
It's tough to move when there's 2 years left on it. It's not so tough when there's 1 year.
Exactly.
In my opinion, I do think it's a bad contract. I think you're overpaying for Marvin Bagley. You're overpaying for an 18-game sample size. Yeah, he was a good player for the Pistons, but again, he was not a good player for the 4 years of his career that he played with Sacramento. He was a bad player for them. And looking at Marvin Bagley, yeah, he brought some offensive energy, but defensively speaking, he was still a liability. Mm-hmm. I like Marvin Bagley on this roster. It's one of those moves that makes me wonder, what could the ripple effect be? Was that one of the reasons we didn't go get Ayton? Or does that hurt us in making the signings we want next offseason? Because we can no longer afford them because we paid an extra $4 or $5 million for a guy like Marvin Bagley. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about what the ripple effect will be. And I don't hate the player. I like the player. I don't love the amount of money you went out to go get him for. Like that just seems like a lot of money for a Marvin Bagley-esque player who only gave you 18 games of good basketball. And don't even act like all 18 of those games were actually good basketball. It was that there was still a lot of inconsistency there. So 12 mil, that's a lot of money for a Marvin Bagley. Mm-hmm. I would have been happier in the realm of 8 mil.
He got like Chris Boucher money. That's who signed a similar contract at a similar position with Toronto. So I guess it begs the question, like, would you rather have Bagley or Chris Boucher? And I think my answer is Chris Boucher, even though Chris Boucher is a bit older.
I would say Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher can shoot.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a great deal in my mind, but we'll see what the ripple effect comes of it, because it could hurt Pistons, it could help Pistons. Who knows?
You know what deal I'm most torn on? The Lou Dort deal from the Thunder. Did you see what he got?
I vaguely saw it. Yeah. What was
5 years, $87.5 million.
That's a lot of money for Lou Dort, man.
Yeah, like, I really like Lou Dort.
I love Lou Dort. I love Lou Dort. That's a lot of money for Lou Dort.
Even though he screwed you, you still love him?
It wasn't his fault. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander screwed me. That man took 14 shots in the last 5 minutes. He gave Lou Dort 1. I needed 1 point. No, I like Lou Dort. Good player.
Yeah.
He ain't worth $87 million. Hell no.
But the other aspect to think about is, the NBA cap just went up again for next season.
Yes.
Pretty considerably so, too. So you do have the fact that, does that make the contract look more attractive in the following years?
No, because it's backloaded.
And I'm just saying in comparison to the contracts we're going to be seeing signed next offseason and the following. And
No, because I don't know that a player like Lou Dort is worth 17.
No, I'm talking about Bagley right now.
Oh, Bagley? No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be that drastic of a change where, like, because again, I would have been happy with Bagley in like the $8 million range.
Mm-hmm.
A $4 million difference in 1 year is like, that's too big to bridge that gap with the cap change. I don't see it being unless he comes out and plays to the bill of the number 2 overall pick. I don't see him really playing up to the worth of that contract in my mind. Not if he plays the way he has for much of his career.
Oh, I just looked up projections for the exceptions, like the vet min, the mid-level exception for next year's salary cap and beyond. So the standard mid-level exception for next offseason is projected to be over $11 million per year.
That's a lot of money. Holy shit. Why so much? For an MLE?
That's nuts.
That's insane. Mm-hmm. Now, big topic of the day. Cade Cunningham was seen working out with Kyrie Irving. Are we bringing Kyrie Irving into a Pistons uniform? Yep, confirm it, lock it, put it in pen, mark it in stone. Kyrie Irving is a Detroit Piston. Please shoot me.
I'll shoot you straight on what I think of that image. When I first saw it earlier today, honestly I thought nothing of it. I'm like, oh cool, because it was on the back end of pictures I was looking at of Cade just working out with guys, including Durant.
Right.
I can't remember who else did that.
That just tells me Cade's just involving himself in the elite of the NBA, that's great. Just please don't get yourself involved with that elite of the NBA. That side of the elite's not fun.
And then once our very own John Macron put out an article on SI, basically highlighting how there was a big contingent of Pistons Twitter that was a bit worried that Cade could be recruiting Kyrie to Detroit. I was like, I didn't even think about it that way when I saw the picture.
We can't afford him.
Yeah, we can't afford him.
Next year we could, depending on his situation there. But
outside of the fact that I don't think Cade has quite that level of clout yet in the NBA, I don't want Kyrie here.
Why would anyone?
And also, it also made me think a little bit deeper about that picture and to get to come to the conclusion that you were just saying where, wait, now I don't really even want Kyrie working out with Cade. Like, I don't want that influence at all. Can he work out?
I don't want him working out with Kyrie. I don't want him working out with KD. Like, I don't want him working out with, like, if you want to work out with the NBA elite, go work out with Devin Booker. Go work out with Jason Tatum. Go work out with Jimmy Butler. Those guys play to win and want to win. Get that mentality. Steph Curry, another one. Draymond Green, sure, wonderful. Just don't take shooting tips from him.
Sabonis was the other name I was thinking of.
I don't mind him as much. He's not a loudmouth. But don't take tips from guys like KD and Kyrie Irving on how to live your basketball life because...
I think that's Jeff Teague in that pit. Looks like Jeff Teague, too.
Those guys don't win.
Yeah.
And I know KD's got 2 championships. Kyrie has 1. But what have they done without having a LeBron or a Steph Curry on their side? Absolutely nothing. So those guys don't have that drive to win, and I don't want Cade learning from them. I want him learning from the others. Yeah. The other NBA elite. The ones that do strive to win. Frankly, if there was
also
one guy
Russell Westbrook was at that workout too. Okay, God, I want Cade to leave.
Yes, get him out of that gym. If there was one, like, I wish he was still alive, but if there was one guy I'd want to have Cade being around, it's Kobe. Learning the Mamba mentality of things. I know it's overplayed with the whole Jason Tatum tattoo, and I texted Kobe today and all this stuff, like, but I would love to have Cade learn from a guy like Kobe Bryant.
Last name at that workout? Christian Wood.
Another guy who straight up does not give a shit about basketball. Christian Wood may be one of the laziest, least caring players in the league. That dude straight up does not try anymore. And that may be a Rockets issue. Don't get me wrong. Because he definitely seemed like he tried here in Detroit, but man, was he lazy with Houston.
I hope to God Cade is just taking it as a challenge against, an
top level
talent as guys like Kevin Durant, but I hope he's not taking any kind of advice from those guys.
Other than maybe taking the advice from Kevin Durant how to properly shoot a baseline turnaround. I would take that because KD's baseline turnaround's pretty nasty.
And I hope he's not taking any kind of turnover prevention advice from Russell Westbrook. I hope that's not happening.
God. I don't think anybody needs to learn that from him. I don't think anybody needs to learn anything from Russell Westbrook. Yeah. That dude is softer than Charmin.
On a non-Pistons related note, I don't know how true this is. All I know is it's being reported that Scotty Barnes is now being involved in the trade discussions between Toronto and Brooklyn for KD. I think Toronto would be straight up stupid.
If Toronto does that, they're stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're getting rid of a future that actually looks pretty bright with the likes of Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes. Like your future, Fred VanVleet, your future actually looks pretty bright right now.
Yeah.
Don't screw it up. And I know KD's a damn good ball player, but he's a headache. Don't screw it up.
And you don't need it. Like
no.
You got like we don't need it. Like,
no.
The teams that get KD are teams like the Suns, who are on the cusp of championship.
I think he would ruin that team.
That team's very volatile. I agree.
That's true. You know what? There's one guy on that team that has been talked about as potentially being part of a sign-in trade involving DeAndre Ayton going to the Nets in particular, and it's Michael Bridges. Why the hell would they ever want to trade Michael Bridges? That dude is a glue piece, man.
If they want to trade him here.
Yes,
we'll take him.
I was begging for the Pistons to draft Michael Bridges the year he came out.
Yep, I remember that.
I loved Michael Bridges, and I still love him as a player. That dude just plays ball, man. Is he the greatest player in the league? No, but man, that dude plays ball, and he's a really, really good defender, like top tier defender.
I'm trying to remember if that was the year that
I think that was
we didn't have a first round pick.
I think that was the year before Killian.
No, I think it was 2 years. I think it was the year that we didn't have a first round pick. Like we had traded the first round pick that we had, and we were trying to see what means were possible for us to trade into this draft.
He was drafted in 2018. Yep, that was the year the Clippers got Miles Bridges from Detroit, who traded him to Charlotte. So that was that year. And then Michael Bridges went number 10 overall. 2 picks ahead of where the Pistons would have been picking. Anyways,
I remember us doing the mock draft in the live show, and like, if there's any way the Pistons can get back into this draft, get Michael Bridges.
I mean, thinking about it, the names that are on this list are insane. DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, Jaren Jackson Jr., Trae Young, Michael Bridges, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Miles Bridges, Michael Porter Jr., who obviously hasn't had a great career, but Kevin Huerter.
I mean, he came into the league hurt.
Yeah, Anthony Simons, Mo Wagner.
What about the Kings having a quietly nice offseason, like post-draft?
This year? Mitchell Robinson, Gary Trent Jr., Devontae Graham, Jalen Brunson. Holy shit, this draft is nuts.
Anthony Simons, you miss him?
I called him. Wow. This may be one of the best drafts since like 03. Jeez. So what have the Kings done?
The Kings brought in Malik Monk. They brought in Kevin Huerter. Who else did they grab?
They brought in a bunch of shooters after they traded all their shooting last year. Got it.
Yeah.
Where did Buddy Hield end up going? I can't remember. Oh, I think
he went with.
He went with Halliburton.
Yeah, I think he went with
they traded all their shooting last year, so let's go and get more shooters. And you know what the Kings are going to do? They're going to win 25 games.
I mean, yeah, they're the Kings.
What was it? The favorite video of the offseason? The Kings fans coming out of their summer league game.
Yeah,
we're winning 30 games this year.
40 games this year. August Keegan Murray had a nice game.
Yep, we're winning 40 games.
All right, here's my last question for you.
Yep.
If we do put Jalen Duren into the G League for a while, you finally going to go out to Wayne State to watch a G League game?
It depends. What do I got going on that weekend?
You got Detroit Day going on. We go there.
That is true. We could do a Midtown Day. You know what?
Midtown Day.
I'll say this: as long as we can make the schedules work out, I'll do it. Yes. I'll go watch Jalen Duren play in the G League.
Yes,
I'll do it. But anything else to add before we close out?
Nikola Jovic, future MVP, all based on summer league performance. That was a joke.
No.
He did have a great opening game, but again, it is summer league. So
yeah, summer league. Keyword summer league. Anyways, guys,
summer league.
That is it to close it out for this week. We thank you guys for listening. Follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. Thank you.
I do have one more question for you.
Right in the close out. All right.
With the roster as currently comprised,
yes.
What is your updated win projection for? Like, I'm not saying your expectation, like you were saying, 35 wins. What's your actual win projection?
They won 23 last year.
I believe 23 is what they won last year.
See, it's hard for me to not be clouded by my expectations, but I'm going to say somewhere between 28 and 32.
You know, I think I'm right there with you.
Like my expectation
I'm right
for
at,
the
right
way
at, I was going to say 30 wins. That's
my expectation for the team in terms of their path is 33 to 35 wins, but I truly think my projection for their win total is 28 to 32. Somewhere in that range.
I'm right there. I was like, this is a 30-win basketball team.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say.
And frankly, if they win 32 games, I won't call it a strike on Troy Weaver.
Close enough. Just cross that 30 mark, basically.
I'll call it close enough. But next year, you still have to make the playoffs. That's mandatory. Year 4, you gotta. So, but anyways, guys, thank you for listening. We'll catch you next week. Follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. Thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast, always at Detroit Podcast. Andrew, thank you for joining me. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
We will catch you guys next week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good one. Peace out.
Peace.